Hi, and welcome to another iCanWiki lesson. Today's lesson concerns understanding our recent changes in history. So we're starting here on the front page of the site, and we'll go over here to the left scroll bar, or the left bar here. We'll click Recent Changes, and this gives us a global view of the most recent changes on the site, and it is broken down in a number of ways. Firstly, we have the date. So this is pretty much all that's occurred today on the 3rd, along with the time. So started off in the early morning. We had one edit in the afternoon. And next we have a list of articles that were worked on. And then we have often a list of changes. So if a bunch of changes have occurred over the course of a day, for a particular article, it will just batch them together and list them as how many changes occurred within one day. Sometimes it's a one-off edit, and that will show up like this. If there's multiple changes, it will show up like this. So next, we'll take a look at the history, and this displays the history from the beginning of the article to today. So it doesn't describe anything in between the 23rd and the 3rd of May, but it does show you the contrast between these two dates, essentially. So many changes were made. So if we want to take a look at the prior version, or the original version, compared to the latest change that I made today, we will click that and click this and hit Compare Selected Revisions. And as you can see, these are the most current revisions. We'll go ahead and go back to our recent changes. And we will move on to this number here, which will change from article revision to article revision. If you see a plus with a number, that's how many characters were added to the article. Whereas if you see a minus, that's how many characters were removed from the article. That gives you a great idea of how much has been changed on the article. This shows me a little bit more was added, as in, a few words were added, a complete reference was added, whereas this could be simply removing a simple markup, like a caret or a parentheses or a bracket. Next, we'll kind of move down to the next example here on IPv6. We'll show what difference means. Difference is essentially comparing the last version of the article with the most recent revision, which was today at 10:46 on the 3rd of May. So this just gives you an idea of how the article has grown, how different sections have grown, and it gives you just a really great understanding of how this work is done. And let's see here. Sometimes you'll see work, for instance, we approved this user account, and so it shows that my approval was made, and then WordPress added some content on himself or herself, and so you'll see multiple editors listed. That's another thing. These people, these names, these usernames are the folks who actually made the edit on the article. That pretty much sums up our recent changes. We could certainly look at our history just a little more in depth. It's not much different, but we'll take a look here. So we'll view history. And this gives us a great way to compare edits made between two times. So we see here that on the 5th, I added some clarifying statements regarding sunrise periods, and it would be kind of nice to see how that changed, how that looks different from today or the 1st of May. See here. sort of the changes that have been made since between those two dates. And that's just good for transparency purposes. That's good to see what changes have been made and how, again, how the article grew. All right, that pretty much wraps up our lesson on recent changes in history.